So in New Delhi, I've heard from my parents, I've even seen the newspapers, as we see that in Delhi, people, means the children, they do not go to school because of the high temperature, the heat waves. It is causing impact on the children, it is causing impact on the people. So they are advised to stay at home because of that, because heat stroke and other various diseases now it is means these diseases and heat strokes, these were not introduced earlier in times in summer. What were they, and why is it caused? They didn't even know. They even didn't know the term what are heat waves actually at that time. And but see, at least and then when the children and we are staying home, we are advised to stay home, but we are turning on the ACs also that time. So we are advised to stay home, but still we are impacting on the environment. That is the case. And the people who really have to go out to work, they they have to bear all the consequences we may not be facing, but the people who go out to work, who are related, who are doing in the profession of farming, they have to bear the heat. So that is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think all of these points are really valid, and they show a lot about what's going on. I can say something from my perspective and where I come from. I think what I see here is that in India, people require like a push. They need a push to make that change. And although maybe they have the thought that they want to make a change, they're not necessarily aware, or they don't understand that something else they may be doing is affecting their ability to make that change. So what I can say is, I come from California, and where I live there's a lot of drought because of climate change and because of the heat that comes in the summer, and all the water in our reservoirs dry out. So what happens is the cost of our water goes up those years. So it's much more expensive to use water. So with that, there's a lot of people who, don't own a house, or they struggle to pay their rent, they struggle to put food on the table for their families. They do labor jobs, they work in a restaurant. But where I live, it's hard for them to live. So when the water company raises another thing is it's all privately owned. When the water company raises the price of water, and that's usually at the direction of the state government, people are naturally forced to stop their usage of water, and electricity prices go up because it's all combined. Electricity, water, gas, it's all combined into one bill. So naturally, they don't want to pay so much, so they naturally use less. So I think that's something that we can do here too, where it forces people to not, because they know they can't handle that much cost.
As I wanted to say that there is cost of water in your area, but in ours we have abundant supply of water. Therefore, we don't understand the importance of water. So when I go to places, means crowded places, I've seen the water from the pipes. They are flowing down and they are mixing with the dirty water, which is very bad. And now I means like the people around them, they don't even care, because they have abundant supply of water. They are not thinking about how in other countries where it is dry, where they suffer for not having for not cannot be for not having water.
I have one of my experiences in Jharkhand this summer. When I went to Jharkhand, it was literally impossible to stay outside. We had to stay in AC 24 hours, and whenever we stepped out, even for 1 second, we were like totally wet. So it was a signal that the climate change is happening really fast now, and that we have to take action fast.
I would like to add a point that the climate change doesn't just happen due to AC, it happens due to a lot of other reasons. Nowadays, people they own a lot of private vehicles, like they're buying cars, they're buying scooters. They show off that, look, I have money, I'm buying this stuff. But due to this, the climate is getting affected. When the people drive the cars, when we use these cars, the cars emit a lot of harmful gases into the air, which just increase the temperature of the atmosphere. If we stop doing this and if we start using public vehicles more, if we adjust somehow, then the climate might not change so much and it might become more bearable. Nowadays, there are electric cars which are actually using electricity and we can charge them and not using petroleum or diesel and just electricity. They contribute to keeping our environment, not that they don't harm our environment that much, but people cannot afford them because they are very costly. They are very costly to manufacture, they are costly to buy. So public transport being used by people might be one of the most available methods for reducing climate change.
Now, the greenhouse gases are really affecting our environment and atmosphere, causing pollution and depletion of ozone layer. So, we should switch from greenhouse gases to renewable energy such as hydropower and tidal and solar powers instead of using harmful gases to not just pollute our environment but also making the environment around us more dangerous for our future generations too.
The rich people, they always invest them. They always they have money, so they always lead a luxurious life. They like to lead it, but I would ask them that why can't they invest their money in saving the environment?
Nowadays, I see in our communities there are a lot of tall buildings being built. But I would like to ask the people who build them, why are you building such tall buildings? What do you benefit from them? The materials used to make these buildings, most of the dust, it escapes into the atmosphere. It traps the heat, it makes it harder to breathe. It actually ends up harming the environment. So in the end, we do not benefit much.
It has been noticed that lately many of the trees are being cut down for domestic purposes, even for raising the domestic animals. But that is good to an extent, but it is noticed that methane, which is a harmful gas for the atmosphere, is being released from the animal body and the animal dung, which also traps the heat and makes the earth warm.
I would like to add a point that we use ACs. It's hot, so we use ACs. But the gases released by the AC, the energy used up by it, it adds to the heat of the atmosphere, which makes us feel more hot, and we end up using the AC in a much higher rate. Thus, it creates a paradox. So we cannot escape from it unless we turn off the ACs and learn to bear the heat for a while.
Yeah, I like all of these points a lot. I think they're really important. I want to go back to the electric car thing. Where I come from, electric cars they're everywhere, like all over the road. Now, just 2 days ago, I took a ride here in a Tata Tigor. It's an electric car. It was an Uber, but it was just as comfortable. There was no difference. And my dad has an electric car too in the US. But price is a really big thing. And I read in the newspaper a few days ago that there's a new BMW electric car and it's come to India. It's called iX, where in the US it's very common, and it's for $40,000, which is around, I'm not sure how many rupees that is, but it's not as much as it is for here.
I want to say that now people are developing. They are finding new ways to save the environment. They are introducing to people the solar energy, the tidal energy, means, and many other renewable energies and also electric cars. But the thing is that since the climate change, we can feel it that it is changing drastically. uh, these things, these are has to be made cheap, so that people can at least buy them, because they are costing so much. But now that we don't have the time, we don't have the time to save the environment, we have to do it very fast. Otherwise then people can't live in the in earth. And the thing is that if we make that cheap, then at least poor people, at least the middle class families, they can also buy that, so that they are trying to do, but they cannot afford to buy those things. They cannot afford to buy the solar panels, they are used in a, but so if they can be made cheap, then it would be helpful for everyone, and it would be it will be helpful for the environment also.
So the one of the most important points we're missing out for the cause of climate change is the use of plastic, as you know. Since plastic is something which is not really recyclable, like it takes millions of years to like degrade a small piece of plastic. So we really need to like work upon that and like use paper bags and paper like soft materials, so that we can at least lessen the usage of plastic, and that's all. It's complete lesson.
Yeah, we can make other means, try to use other substitutes instead of plastic, which can be biodegradable, and so that they mix up with the earth, and it won't cause any harm.
In most of all the shops now it's written that no plastic, only jute bags or paper bags.
But I think paper we can make from other things also, because when we cut trees, it is also harming the environment. So the paper bags, it is okay, it can be biodegradable, but but it is for making papers, it is resulting in deforestation, which I really don't want it. I've When I went to fair, yeah, I saw in a shop that they say that they make paper from stone. I don't really know it, but yeah, it is possible. It can be made possible. They are made. Those papers are made from bamboo, small bamboo leaves, and the animal's dung. I can't really remember it. The animal's dung and the stone or something like that, and they are used to make handmade paper, and it is so nice. We can write in those. So instead of cutting trees, we can do that also, which is a substitute.
The fast fashion nowadays are also a problem, also a topic to discuss about, because we forget about the sustainable fashion and move into the fast fashion, which are very popular these days, resulting in wastage of clothing materials, and we don't reuse those materials which are left out by the early fashions to make new clothes. So that is a problem.
Few days ago, Prayasam had organized a summer camp where I was unfortunately not present that time, but I have heard from many of my friends there that Prayasam had also organized a beautiful activity in which they all, the whole group went to one of the boutiques, and they all took their old clothes, and the old clothes were renewed and were made into again renewable substances. For example, bags. my one of the friend carried that bag to Prayasam, and it's a very proud thing that we also, and the Prayasam organization is doing so many things for the sustainable development of our environment.
That's really cool. I've never heard of something like that. So what do you guys what solutions do you have in mind for the fast fashion issue?
For the fast fashion issues, we can reuse those old materials and make into new clothes like Shalini silk bags and tops, and we can make small things like even we can make DIY jewelries to like reuse those materials and recycle.
So as I at first said, we have to decrease the use of the petroleum and diesel based vehicles. For that, all the harmful gases such as carbon dioxide are released in air, which is the biggest or the main cause of the humidity level and global warming. And we can use all the electric cars, and there's EV cars we can use. These EV cars are suddenly have increased in number and are very much popular nowadays. So let's start using that and stop the use of all the diesel and the petrol based cars, and let's protect our environment.
Like we nowadays traveling even short distances, we travel with our private cars. So we can do one thing to prevent the harmful gases releasing from those cars. We can travel by carpooling to smaller distances, and hopefully we can protect our environment by doing that.
Nowadays we use Ubers to travel very small distances. Like from my house, the city center in Kolkata, it's a 10-minute walk. But sometimes we use an Uber, a car, we book a cab to travel there. We can try to walk these small distances to reduce the usage of many private transport to help the environment.
As Niharika said, we can walk short distances. It will not only help our environment but also in our personal health.
Reducing the use of AC has proved to be a point which is effective. However, even when we use the ACs for a short time, we can try to use the ACs which do not release CFC in the atmosphere, because CFC depletes the ozone layer, and we can try to use the HFC based ACs which does not release the chlorine, so it does not harm the ozone layer that much. I want to say that I've heard good news that in the country Netherlands they have switched from car to cycling, where means it is good to hear that they are now aware and they are trying to also save the environment. So cycling, even if we instead of walking, we can also cycle, because it does not emit any harmful gases, and cycling also makes our health much more improved than what we are now. And in cycling in Netherlands just inspired me, and I hope that I could also cycle every I mean not everywhere, but at least I can cycle to shorter distances.
Well, there's a very important point which actually causes this climate change, that is overpopulation. So I think so. We need to control that. So we need to promote more population control campaigns. So in order to lessen up the population, which can also lessen up the number of factories being set up, so that less number of people, so the amount of things we require also lessen up. So that's a thing we should really focus on. which can also since we know like the factories emit a lot of gases and also harm the water by using chemicals and all those. So like it's a win-win situation for from both the angles. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, so I want to kind of talk about the fast fashion issue, and fast fashion has taken over the world. Like many of you know the big, massive brand Zara.
Yeah.
We as youth are very familiar with social media, or we will become very familiar with it because it's coming into our world, and the next generation wants to use social media for everything. So using social media, we can make more people aware in more languages and in more places around the world about what fast fashion is and what happens with fast fashion. Like for me, my mom likes to shop at Zara, but I don't ever go to Zara because I know what's happening, and I keep telling my mom, you shouldn't go there, you shouldn't support it. The more people that stop supporting those types of brands, the more the world becomes aware, the more the world starts to follow in those tracks. Because if all of us, except one of us is just, let's say all of us are shopping at Zara, and 5 of us become aware, and then there's just one person still going, they're probably going to think, why am I the only one still here, right? They're going to switch to the train of, okay, let's not go here anymore. It's the same thing like when you go to a restaurant. When you go to a restaurant and you see that there's no one there, there's like maybe one person, you might not want to go there, right? Because you might think, okay, this may not be, or with reviews in a restaurant. So it's the same analogy, right? This is a viable solution because we're all going to use social media. We like to use it, so it's a good use of social media as well as we're giving awareness.